everyone, it's Jack and Ben from Cultaholic.com and Triple Jump. Thanks, Ben, for stepping in at short notice for the wrestling news. Everyone's away. Everyone's bloody away. It's panic stations because everyone's away, but it's all right. It's okay because we've got some lovely wrestling news to talk about, Ben.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be wonderful. Let's take a look at all of the headlines. First of all, we take a look at potential reasons why Vince McMahon has hired Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman. Next up, we take a look at when Brock Lesnar's contract is reportedly set to expire. And finally, an active WWE superstar has apparently been road agenting for 205 Live. So first of all, let's expand a little bit on this week's biggest news, which is of course that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are taking control of Raw and SmackDown respectively. How strange is that?
It's like a blast from the past.
It is. But I'm more excited about Heyman than I am Bischoff. But it's okay. Because we're going to take a look at potential reasons why Vince McMahon has hired them. Yes, it has something to do with All Elite Wrestling.
Oh.
So according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was known that Vince was attempting to lock down Heyman for a lengthy contract for obvious reasons due to the emergence of AEW and the idea they would be interested in him. He would be a good fit for All Elite Wrestling because he is a very forward-thinking man. Remember ECW? Remember how wacky and radical it was?
It was a crazy time, Jack.
I was too young to remember it, but I've since looked back and it was a wacky time.
It was mad.
Also then, he was in charge of SmackDown during SmackDown's arguable peak, the SmackDown 6 era, which is when, let me get this right, 6 SmackDown superstars were doing really well and having really good matches. We had Angle, Benoit, Eddie, Chavo, Edge, and Rey Mysterio. He's bloody done it.
The original Power Rangers, am I right?
Just slightly more controversial. Also, Eric Bischoff may have been hired to lure him away from All Elite Wrestling as well. Now, Bischoff would be a less natural fit. Meltzer, I think correctly here, says that, you know what, maybe they'd be against hiring Bischoff because they don't want to be seen as another WCW.
Right.
And hiring Bischoff would be such a clear WCW move. But apparently Vince may think, oh, they might want Eric just because it's Vince McMahon. He's slightly out of touch sometimes with certain things.
So this is a move that could be motivated more out of spite than any intention to elevate his own
I don't know
production.
if spite's the tactics.
Okay,
Tactically,
but it's pretty transparent though, isn't it?
well, I think Heyman's a good hire. I think Heyman's really
No,
good.
you're right. Yeah.
But it depends on how much freedom they're going to be given because, of course, Vince always has the final say, as far as we know. And I don't know how much power he'd be willing to devolve to Heyman and Bischoff, respectively. Also, Meltzer's just kind of gone in on Bischoff's hire. He's like, it's a bit of a strange decision. But
Does he not like him?
well, I don't know, actually. I don't know if they like each other or not. No, they don't.
No?
They don't like each other, Meltzer and
then.
Bischoff. But yes, he says here, maybe because Cody's been mentioning Bischoff in All Elite Wrestling videos, McMahon feared having him on the other side, with opposition seeming to be more serious than TNA ever was, because Bischoff was in TNA.
Right.
Perhaps he simply knew of nobody else for the role, which is quite the indictment of either Vince recognising sharp younger guys or an industry that hasn't turned out any, and the latter is hardly the case. That's Meltzer basically saying Vince doesn't really know what he's talking about.
I think there is an element of truth there, surely, right?
I think
Because
potentially.
it's as talented as these men obviously are.
Yeah, who have stuck around for so long.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's 20 years since they were both arguably at their, I don't want to say at their creative peak, but when they were certainly in, the height of their particular brand.
Yeah.
And they're being brought back again over anybody else.
Yeah.
Anybody new that could shake things up. And I'm sure, if they do get their own way, if Vince lets them, then they'll come up with some quite amazing things. But will they?
Well, there are secondary reasons also that I'm just going to quickly go through. So Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio said, hey Dave, Meltzer, what about Bischoff's experience with TV networks? Because SmackDown's moving to Fox, there's this whole new deal, and Meltzer went, that is indeed also a big reason. Yes, Brian. And in terms of Heyman, there are reports and rumours and speculation floating around that Heyman may have been given a good position to keep Lesnar and Rousey quite close because they're both Paul Heyman guys and girl. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I am, not to sound too biased, quite delighted to be covering Raw under Heyman's helm than SmackDown under Eric's. But that's just my opinion, and I'm going to look really two-faced because I did interview him mere weeks ago. Next up, let's talk about Brock Lesnar actually, because his contract is set to expire at some point in the future. That's such a strange sentence. Yeah, who would have thought?
It's going to expire at some point.
It's not a lifetime contract. But Meltzer has, let's stick with the Wrestling Observer newsletter, has talked a little bit about when his contract is set to expire. And that's always crucial because Lesnar seems to dominate huge chunks of like WWE's calendar year, especially if he gets his hands on a title. And it's always nice to know when his contract's set to expire because it leads to this breaking point, like we saw in the main event of WrestleMania 34, where everyone thought he was leaving, and then he just won, and everyone went, he's been given a contract extension, oh bloody hell.
Right.
My voice has given up on me immediately, Ben.
It's okay, Jack, you're nearly there.
So apparently Lesnar's contract is set to expire in 2020, roughly May or June, which means that he should be a lock for WrestleMania. You'd imagine he'd have a big WrestleMania match.
Right.
Potentially he'd be involved in the Rumble. He is, of course, currently the Money in the Bank holder, which means that he could get his hands on the Universal or WWE Championship in the build-up to those events. So I think Lesnar could once again be in the main picture once, crunch time rolls around from January to April.
It's always been weird, hasn't it, over the last few years when he hasn't been in the title picture at WrestleMania?
Yes, but I've enjoyed it.
Have you?
I think Lesnar...
You liked his match against Ambrose? That was good?
No, I didn't like his match against Ambrose, but his match against Reigns, the first one, was superb. The one where Rollins ran in. That was amazing.
Oh yeah, that was amazing, but he was the champion.
Yes. Yeah, true. His match against Goldberg was excellent at WrestleMania 33, but then his match against Reigns at WrestleMania 34 was not so excellent.
Right.
What did he do at 35? Rollins, that was cool.
Yeah.
It was more of an angle than a match, but that was cool. You know what, actually? I'm all for Lesnar. He's had one or two duds.
I've always liked Lesnar, but then again, I haven't been watching week-to-week WWE main roster programming for a long time.
I see.
I understand why people might be a bit fatigued of it, perhaps.
Well, Meltzer has also pointed out it'll be interesting to see if the UFC talk comes up again, because he's always potentially jumping back to the UFC for a real fight or whatever. It's stupid. Especially since Dana White outright claimed that Lesnar had retired, although he has said before as well that they were still talking. I don't really believe too much that comes out of Dana White. He's a slick operator, as Dana White.
Is he?
I just feel like you can't quite trust what he says. He's a promoter. Lesnar, apparently, this is where it gets really interesting. His leverage will be huge around that time of year if All Elite Wrestling are popping some big TV ratings.
Right.
Because can you imagine if they signed Brocky Les? That would be huge.
That would be huge. I mean, thinking beyond the immediate impact that would have on Vince McMahon's ego. How would they book him?
I don't. That's the thing that I don't know.
They wouldn't want him to come in and just steamroll, unless they brought him in and paid him loads of money, and then just everybody on the roster beat him, almost as a warning.
I'm just imagining him coming in and just like Jungle Boy, Jimmy Havoc.
He just eats Jimmy Havoc.
Well, I think they could book the rematch that we all want to see: Moxley versus Lesnar.
Oh man.
Yes.
Okay.
Next up, let's go to WrestlingInc.com's interview with Colby Corino, the son of wrestling veteran Steve Corino, because Colby was talking about appearing on 205 Live over the past few months, where he wrestled and I believe lost to Mike Kanellis out of Maria and Mike Kanellis. Have they got a collective name?
Marike.
Yes, Marike Kanellis. And he said, Eric Young was the producer for that match. I didn't even know he was a producer until I got there and saw him on the sheet. He was great. Everyone's super nice and super accommodating. They're open to listening to ideas and anything to make the product better. The big news here is that Eric Young seems to be a producer. Eric Young's...
That's nice.
Well, at least it's good because he's been one of these real victims of the whole shake-up and then the wildcard rule and stuff, and he's just been totally lost in the shuffle. I think we last saw him on Raw recently, though, but it was the first time in a while when Baron Corbin offered him that special guest referee position, and he went, I'll think about it, and then Rollins turned up and he went, I've not accepted it, don't worry, Seth, and then Rollins went, okay. Turned away and then battered him with a steel chair.
What?
Seth!
Oh.
I know. But, yeah, Eric Young's been around for a while. I don't know if you're familiar with his work in TNA. It's okay if you're not.
I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Brace yourself. He was in Team Canada alongside Bobby Roode.
Okay.
That was a great tag team back then.
Yeah.
He was also a former... They kind of stole or got accused of stealing a WWE storyline because soon after Daniel Bryan had his big triumph at WrestleMania 30.
Yes, no, I remember hearing about that.
That was Eric Young.
I remember, yeah, he was the underdog pushed to the moon.
Yes.
Didn't he host some TV shows as well?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It might have been on Steve Austin's podcast at the time. I remember hearing about something. It may not have been him. Something about hosting like a fishing TV show or something. I don't know.
He's got a beard, so it could be.
It could be. They're natural friends. I fish. I don't fit.
Okay, right.
I wish I could, but I can't.
And finally as well, last year was a very successful year for New Japan Pro Wrestling financially, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, because Bushiroad as a company, that's the company that owns New Japan, had $270 million, that is, not yen, dollars.
You mean real money?
No, look, I had
Is
to
that what you're saying?
when we were in Tokyo, I had to deal with yen, and it was quite, everything just looks so expensive, but it's actually not. You've just got to add, so if something's 10,000 yen, it's £100-ish.
Right.
You add 2 zeros.
I'm surprised you didn't sort of write for Lonely Planet while you were at Jack's Guide to Japan.
Travel
Everything
guide.
looks expensive, but it's actually not though.
Train stations are really busy, so just don't.
just fly everywhere you can.
Bushiroad as a company had $270 million in revenue, of which $46 million came from New Japan, which, I mean, for a wrestling company to be making money is always good. I mean, in this day and age, because the market is very saturated. But I think that's particularly good. In fact, Meltzer says it was the most successful year financially for New Japan, and they've been going since 1972.
Wow.
They listed at the time, New Japan World subscribers at 100,000. 2018 attendance was 400,000 in 160 shows, which is about 2,500 paid per show average. That will be a little under half of that of the WWE main roster and 3 times that of NXT. I know NXT's kept deliberately kind of small.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know what, saying they've got less than half of WWE's main roster attendance sounds bad, but given the relative sizes of both companies and their relative global prominence, I think that's really impressive from the NJPW land.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So the AEW boys, I mean, this is complete ignorance speaking because I've never really watched New Japan.
Yes.
Bullet Club is still going, right?
Yes.
And the Elite, were they or were they not involved in the Bullet Club? Or still involved
There was
in
a
the Bullet
split,
Club?
Ben. There was a civil war.
Okay.
And there was a split, and now you've got the Elite, who are no longer part of the Bullet Club, but feature some members of the Bullet Club.
Okay.
In fact, are all of them former members of the Bullet Club? Yes, they are. So Omega used to be the leader of the Bullet Club. Cody Rhodes used to also be in the Bullet Club. The Young Bucks weren't founding members, but they were there for a while. And Hangman Page, Marty Scurll's not in the Elite really yet, but he sort of is. But everyone's waiting for him to jump from Ring of Honor to All Elite Wrestling.
Gotcha.
The Bullet Club.
My follow-up question, though, the point I was going to make was that now that those guys aren't sort of full-time in New Japan.
No, they're pretty separate from it, actually.
Has that happened in the last year?
Well, yes. Are they going to be able to maintain?
Exactly.
That happened at the start. That happened at the very start of this year.
Right.
We went to Wrestle Kingdom, and they booked every single outgoing member of the Elite to lose, which they then referenced on their show being the Elite.
Okay.
During the show, there was little clips of them coming backstage going like, "Oh, damn it, I lost." Don't worry, Cody's match is next. He's got this. Then Cody comes backstage, just throws a chair, and goes, "God damn it!" And they're like, "Look, Kenny's in the main event. They wouldn't book us all to lose." And then it just cuts to them all just like sad in the back.
Yeah. So they've done really well this last year.
Yes.
And again, the point I'm making is, speaking from total ignorance, I don't know how important those guys were to the show.
Pretty important for Western audiences getting them in.
Right.
But
so now that they're gone, is that going to affect things?
It depends how well Jericho and Moxley do, I think.
Okay.
As a replacement, big Western names. But you never know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.